I see a lot of people making the mistake of going to something like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude and dropping in files of data and asking for analysis. Hey, I'm Courtney and I'm an expert in practical AI usage, and I'm going to show you how you can use AI more efficiently and effectively. But there's a really big problem with that type of analysis or using those tools in that way. And that is the files that you send tend to get truncated in the prompt that ends up going to the agent. So the agent can't see all of the data, but it comes back and it will pretend to have seen all the data, or it will act upon what it did see, and it will give you analysis. Unless you go through and look at that analysis in detail, most people will miss that it didn't look at the whole data set. Then you end up with this partial analysis that people take as holistic and start to take action on, but they're missing a bunch of the information under the hood there. What I recommend you do is you build an analysis tool that will use AI on the back end, but done in such a way that you can control what data is sent and you can control what data comes back. So you know that every piece that you're sending over is being analyzed by the AI. Today, I'm going to show you how to build this type of analysis tool. I have some sample data. We're going to build an analysis tool that will analyze student test data for a grade school and draw conclusions and give the school some recommendations on how they can improve, find the areas that they're doing really well, basically display all that information in a much stronger analysis. I submitted these files directly to Gemini just as a test, and it responded back, I can only see a little bit of those files. That right there shows that even a 450, 455 line file is going to cause issues using those tools for data analysis. Let's dive in and build this student data analysis tool. We're going to start off here with a very simple PRD. I like to keep these small. I've put in this very simple idea here. We're going to build a student data analysis tool. I want to be able to upload data files with state test scores and other test scores. Each will have the common field of the student ID number. I'm giving it something to base all of this analysis upon. Then I said I wanted to use Claude to analyze for patterns and return analysis with some charts and recommendations on how the school could improve, where it's doing well, and some cohort info as to whether or not certain teachers or special programs are performing better than others or worse than others throughout the year. Reports will be saved. I will be able to log in with JWT token and it will use a Postgres database. So very simple explanation here. The output from that is right here. This is the first output. Now you can use this tool if you want as well. It's free on the internet, PRD.opg.ai. It says right here what the output was. Looking at this, I realized that I asked it to use Claude, and I wanted to do that on purpose because Claude does this structured outputs, and it's very helpful for this type of work. But I also know that the AI tools that we'll be using to build this don't know about structured outputs. Then I went into the PRD tool and I just added a little chat down here. And I said, make a note to use Claude structured data outputs for the responses and instruct the user to look up what that means. Then it rewrote this with a little instruction here on how that should be done. That way the AI tool knows it needs to go gather fresh information. It shouldn't be pulling this from memory. I've copied that. And we're going to test building this today. We're going to try building this with Google's anti-gravity. This is a brand new tool that Google rolled out. It's still in beta, but it's a really neat interface. So we're going to try building this in this interface, see if it works. If the build doesn't go the way we want, we'll hop over to Replit and drop it in there and do the build there. I know for sure that it'll work in that spot, but I want to show you how this can be done in some of the new tools as well. We'll use Google anti-gravity today. And for that to work, we're going to need a database. Now I've gone to Railway. You can get a link in my bio, and I'll also link stuff down here below the video to Railway. It's one of my favorite spots for this type of work, and we need a database. We're going to click this and we're going to grab a Postgres database. It's really that simple. It's going to launch that database, and then it will give us a database URL as soon as it's done building. So this will take 1 or 2 minutes to finish building. While that is going, let me show you what I've done in Google Anti-Gravity so far. Inside Anti-Gravity, they have this agent manager, and you'll see after you download it here that it looks pretty similar to VS Code. And that's because it is based on the same platform. I believe this came from their purchase of Windsurf a little while back. I believe this is just forked off of Windsurf. And it has some really cool features, specifically in this case, this agent manager. And this agent manager is neat because you can go over here to a playground and just mock up an idea. It will create the folder structure and build something as a mockup. And then if you like it, you can turn it into a real project. And if you don't like it, no big deal. So what I've done is I've copied this revised PRD just by clicking this copy button. I've gone in here and pasted that in a playground here in Google Anti-Gravity. That's what I did. I just pasted that in the playground. And it went ahead and started working on this project. I'm using Gemini 3 Pro Low. It has a few options here that we can use. You're not going to get a ton of available usage from Gemini. It's limited. This is a beta, but it is pretty cool. But went ahead and started setting up the project. It did seem to hang here for a minute, checking the command status. What I did is I clicked this little button here to open it in terminal, which pulls up this terminal here, which is this is the little project that it created. And I just copied the terminal response right there, and I pasted it back in. That way the AI could see, it seemed to be having trouble seeing the terminal. So I pasted it in here, and then it proceeded on. Now it's set this up. I haven't touched it since then. It's continued to go through the setup, and now it's asking for a connection string. So it has created a .env file. And if I click that, I can see here that it has created this file for us. And we need a Claude API key and a secret here and a database URL. For dev, I'm just going to leave this here. I'm not worried about that key right now. And I will put in my API key here in for Claude. And then for this database URL, we're going to grab that thing from Railway. If we take a look at the files that it's built here, we can see that it has a client side and a server side, and this is where the .env file is that we want to edit. We're going to go ahead and paste in our Claude key here. We'll save that. Let me show you what type of data we're going to be looking at. Here I have the state ID for the students, and that's going to be kind of our anchor field here that we're going to use to reference. And then it has some test data. This is all just fake. This is not real student information here. So we have all of this information right here that has been collected for all of our state tests. Then using the student ID, the state ID again, we have some benchmarks that we've taken for each student. So again, this is just fake data, but this would be very similar to what a school might have. Might be formatted a little differently, but it'd be very similar here. These are the two files that we're going to be using to analyze. This will be our base file, and this will be what we use to compare to. Now we're going to go back to Railway and get that database URL. It'll be right here. We're just going to copy that in and paste that right in here. And we'll save that file. We have that saved. And we're going to jump back over here, tell it that I've put in the database and Claude API key. Let's see what it's come up with here in terminal. It says it's had a little trouble connecting. It probably didn't install one of the required dependencies. That happens quite often. Now it is setting up our system to read the files. Here it's installed a couple packages we need, the Anthropic AI SDK. And now we have the front end being built. So we got the back end structured here. This is all something we're going to test. We're going to see what the AI built out for us. And then we're going to test this front end as well, make sure it is operational. I don't know how well this playground will do with front-end design. I have found that the Google AI Studio is really good at front-end design, but it can't do anything on the back end successfully that I've found in my tests. It fails pretty much every single time. I've seen that this tends to do a better job with back-end stuff. It says it has created it and it's running here. So before we do anything else, we are going to take a look and see if that's running. We're just going to copy this URL, paste it in the browser, and it says nothing is there. Let's see if that's actually running or not. We can see here it's not running. When I look at the terminal here, it looks like it only started the server. We are going to go and start the client side as well here. We are going to change to the client directory here. Now that we're in there, we're going to install all our dependencies, make sure that runs, and then we're going to npm run dev. There we go. It looks like it didn't fully install everything. I opened that and it shows this error. Here we have the server running. Looks like we just made file changes to the front end. So let's go ahead and restart that. Control C. And here is our AI. Okay, we're going to go ahead and sign up here. Put in my information. Sign up, registration successful. Please log in. And we will sign in. There we are. We have our information here. And we can see here it went ahead and set up the database and provisioned that. So that's in place. So now we're going to go ahead and upload files. It says choose file rather than multiple. So I'm curious if we can put in multiple or not. We're going to select these two files that I was showing you. And I can see already it will only let me put in one. So it didn't quite follow the directions there. I'm going to see if we can update that pretty easily here. I'm going to say it has to be able to upload multiple files for analysis so we can compare data, but the upload is limited to one file. See what the analysis rules are and see if they are configured to cross-compare two or more files if provided, as well as see if there's a way to properly handle more files, handle more than one file being uploaded at a time. We're going to see here what we have. This is one of those cases where you give the instructions, but the AI doesn't fully check and follow it. It's going to read and see if we can execute this. I'm also interested to see how flexible the system is here for what it's looking for there. This is something I see Gemini do a lot. It has trouble writing files, which is why it's not necessarily my favorite tool for AI coding. But I'm very interested to see how well it can handle fixing its issues. It tends to get stuck in loops. It will fix a file, then break it, and fix it again, and then break it, and it will just continue to go in that loop. We'll see if it gets anywhere here. Okay, let's restart this. And we're going to restart this one too. Wait for the server running and refresh. We're going to choose files. Open these files and we're going to tell it to analyze. And it says failed to upload and analyze files. So we're going to copy that and go take a look and see what our error is here. So just going to copy this error. I see it's using the wrong model. So it didn't fully look up the information. I'm going to say it errored on upload because you used the wrong model for Claude. Here we go. Now it's using the web search that I told it to do initially, that it seems to have skipped. So we can see here that anti-gravity is not great at following directions. We will go ahead and restart the backend, restart the front end again, refresh our page. Let's make sure it says it's done. And upload those files. Let's go back and look at our log. Okay, so that seems to be running at the moment. While that is running, we're going to ask a question. I'm going to say, tell me if it is super flexible with respect to the headings, letting the AI decide how the file data should be linked relationally. or if it is expecting specific structure that we didn't tell it to expect. I want this to be as flexible as possible. So we can kind of upload any type of student data file, but we're going to see how it's actually structured. We're going to view this report. There is our report. So it said the average score, highest score, and lowest score. It says analysis of 50 students across grades 1 through 5 shows this. This is interesting. It only pulled in 50 students. And this is where we get to see that there are some truncation pieces. Likely, this is because AI loves to put in token limits. So a lot of times you'll find when you build a tool like this, the first build, it will put in very small token limits and truncate the files, which is exactly what happens in the context window when you're talking to it through chat. But here we get to control that. Now we can see it analyzed 50 students, and we have to go into the code and see where that is set up. I like how flexible that is. We are going to go ahead and talk about this limit. I'm going to say, are there limits to how many rows it will analyze or how many tokens it is allowed to use? I did a test and it only viewed 50 students. It must view and analyze all. Now, while that's running, let's go take a look here. We're going to search this analyze.js file for tokens. And here we have a max tokens of 4,000, and that is not going to be nearly enough. Yeah, so we've got to increase that. Let's see what it says before we view. Okay, so it said it increased it to 4,000, send all rows. I'm going to change that manually. We don't need to go back to the AI for that. We're going to go and change that to, I'm going to say 20,000 tokens and see what type of response we get, see if we get better response. We're going to restart since we made some changes. And then we are going to run this analysis again. Choose the same files. Open. Let that run through here. It's doing its analysis. Now we're not worried about the look right now. We're trying to just see what type of insights we can glean. And again, you can see here the issue that you would run into if you tried to do this analysis inside something like ChatGPT or Gemini or even Claude directly, is you'll run into these truncation issues. And in this case, whereas if you did that directly inside one of the chat windows, you would not actually get to fix that issue and you won't get full data analysis. So let's take a look here. Assuming this is the later one, analysis of 500 students. It says 500, I think we had 450. Okay, so we have some average score information. Okay, mid-year, end of year performance. So it looks like we've gone down throughout the year based on the data there. And we have 58% of students meeting or exceeding proficiency standards. Strong growth observed fall to winter. Okay, so fall to winter is growing. ELA scores averaged 283.7, 62% meeting or exceeding proficiency. Okay, science was the lowest among all subjects. Grade level disparities are significant, but found some interesting insights throughout the data here. And it says teacher effect is notable. Teacher, and it has a teacher number, average the highest, while teacher 1 has the lowest with a variance of 22 points, despite similar class composition. So this would be something to look into. What's the difference between either the classes or the cohorts or the teaching methods? Anything like that would be important to spot here that we can see. And special program students show mixed results. ELL students average 286 in math, but 275 in ELA. SPAD students average 282 overall. Gifted students excel at 305 across subjects. Okay, so it's got some information there. Looks like grade 5 is struggling with math comparatively. Okay, here's some recommendations that it came up with. Again, this is test data, but this is interesting that we can see these. Where I would go with this is I would look through this information and say, okay, does this even start to align with what I know about my organization? Like, is this on base, off base, something like that? you'll have a feel for whether the data is way out of left field or if it's actually kind of in line with what you're seeing already on the ground. And then I would start to go into wherever I built this tool and ask questions about how to improve these outputs and say, I want to know more about high performing teacher data. Have it create a section to analyze that more fully in your output. So when it comes out now, you get additional data. Maybe you want some different charts. So you want to see like some comparison charts between math versus ELA. You can ask for those charts to be generated. And so instead of just the chart that it came up with here, we can kind of see more comparisons. Start asking questions about the data. That way you build out a consistent analysis. And all you have to do in the future is upload files and get the insights that you want. And that is how you can use AI to build an AI analysis tool that will actually look through your data and come up with real insights that you can take action on in your organization. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, go ahead and like and follow, make comments if you want to see something else, or if you have insights into this type of usage and have ideas you want to share, go ahead and drop those in the comments, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and follow. And if you need help building or finishing your app, click the link in my bio to book a one-on-one Zoom call to take a look at your project.